On February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader walked into a Wichita courtroom and described in flat, methodical detail how he had murdered 10 people across 3 decades. He used the word project to describe each killing. He discussed ligature tension and body positioning with the detachment of a man reviewing a work report. He was 60 years old. He was a church president. He had been a compliance officer for his local government. He had a wife and 2 adult children, and for 30 years, no one had caught him. Rader's murders began in January of 1974, when he killed 4 members of the Otero family inside their home in Wichita, Kansas. Joseph Otero, his wife Julie, and 2 of their children, 9-year-old Joey and 11-year-old Josephine, were bound and strangled. Josephine was hanged from a pipe in the basement. She was still alive when Rader left the house. He later stated he returned to check on her. Investigators recovered a semen sample at the scene. It would sit unmatched for over 30 years. Over the following years, Rader killed 6 more people. Catherine Bright in 1974, Shirley Vian and Nancy Fox in 1977, Maureen Hedge in 1985, Vicki Wegerle in 1986, Dolores Davis in 1991. In several cases, he sent taunting letters to police and newspapers. He gave himself a name, BTK, which stood for Bind, Torture, Kill. The letters were not a cry for help. They were a performance. Rader was intelligent, organized, and deeply aware of the attention his crimes generated. Criminal profilers at the time suggested the killer was likely white, male, and lived in close proximity to the crime scenes. They were right on every count. He had simply blended in. What makes Rader's case significant to criminal psychologists is not the violence itself. It is the compartmentalization. He passed polygraph examinations administered during the original investigation. He attended church. He raised a family. He reported his neighbors to city code enforcement for minor violations, a detail that, in retrospect, reveals something precise about his psychology. Control was not incidental to who he was. It was the organizing principle of his entire life. The murders were an extreme expression of a need that was present everywhere else in quieter, socially tolerated forms. What finally ended it was a floppy disk. In February of 2005, Rader sent investigators a disk containing a document file. He had previously asked through a letter whether such a disk could be traced. Police responded publicly through a newspaper ad that it could not. That was a lie. Forensic technicians recovered metadata from the file. It had been created on a computer registered to Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita. It listed the last user as Dennis. Within days, DNA obtained from Rader's daughter through a medical sample was compared to the evidence from the Otero scene. The match was definitive. Rader pleaded guilty to all 10 murders in June of 2005. Kansas had reinstated the death penalty after his last known killing, meaning he could not be executed under the constitutional prohibition on ex post facto punishment. He was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms. He will not be eligible for parole. He is currently incarcerated at the El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas. The BTK case remains one of the most studied examples of the organized, non-social serial killer type, a classification developed in part because of cases exactly like his. The behavioral science units that refined criminal profiling used Rader as a model for understanding how certain offenders are not isolated loners, but deeply embedded community members whose public identity functions as cover, sometimes without even conscious intent. The danger, the research suggests, is not always in the margins. Sometimes it is standing at the front of the congregation.